We need to take a bet. You either say, look, treasuries are right and there's something ugly happening, or you look at the rest of the markets, you look at the OECD forecast and you say, right, we're on an upward trend. Where do you stand?
See, I'm not sure there's such a big divergence between the two, because I think what we're seeing is this kind of continued momentum in global growth, but the big news has been on inflation. The inflation part of the reflation trade has been fading as some of those kind of headline effects of higher commodity prices come out. And then we've had some genuine news in the US for a couple of months now, which is some downside surprises on inflation. I think I've been less surprised by that in Europe. And so we have a kind of Goldilocks world continuing where no one sees any kind of dramatic threats to growth on the horizon, and yet we don't feel in an environment where central banks are under enormous pressure to start withdrawing stimulus. So, this is a very unloved rally in terms of equity markets. I think we still think that has somewhere to go, further to go. I think yields probably drift upwards from here, but I don't see the kind of burning platform.
All right, so there's no catalyst?
Well, it doesn't seem to be at the moment. I think the most interesting thing that's happened in the last few months has been this US inflation print, because we've been in a world where we all thought, yes, there isn't really any domestic inflation in Europe, there isn't any domestic inflation in Japan, but the US is ahead of the pack. It's got this tight labour market, and we expect the Phillips curve to start kicking in. That keeps disappointing, and then suddenly we have these kind of oddities in the data where the statistic agencies come out with changes to hedonic adjustments. You get one-offs, so this impact of kind of wireless telephone quality changes and price changes. And suddenly, if we're going to be in a world where inflation continues to disappoint, then actually that's going to make it harder and harder for hawks on central banks to justify pulling out. So I think that that's really something to watch.